Hey, everybody. Ooh, that's loud. Okay. It's very strange to be doing this for this. Give me a second. Because I'm usually doing it for a comedy festival. And the guy that we're going to celebrate today was a huge fan of comedy. He was a big part of the festival. And yeah, so it's just, this is not the MC gig that I wanted. It was a fucking shitty MC gig. But the good part and the beautiful part of this, what we're going to do today, is we're going to honor this guy. He's my nephew, Silas Berrier. He was a beautiful, kind, gentle, intelligent, and most of all to me, loving and funny human being. And I adored the guy, and I think that you all did, and that's why you're here. And I'm so glad that we can do this and celebrate his life. So the first thing I want to do is tell you to turn off your cell phones. Second thing I want to do is to get it out on the count of 3. We're all going to yell, "We love you, Silas." You guys ready? 1, 2, 3. We love you, Silas! I think you heard that. Another housekeeping thing. Please keep your masks on unless we're up here talking. We're not allowed to take them off, okay? They work well as a hanky, as you found out. I don't think that Silas had a will, but if he did have a will, I think he would have probably put in there, "I do not want my memorial celebration to be a super spreader event." He'd be like, I want to be remembered, but not like that. Okay, I'm trying to make a few jokes. I'm Jeb Berrier. I'm Silas's uncle. And I want to talk a little bit about me and Silas, because we had a really great and interesting relationship that started with him being little and being born and living in New Hampshire. And I was living out here when he was born, and then I was living in New York and other places, but it was always immediately apparent that he and I had this kindred kind of actor, creative, comedy sensibility that we shared. It was like Silas, from the smallest, when he could talk, he was doing little voices in his play area. And be like, what is that? What is going on in there? It's like, who is he talking to? Like, oh, he's just doing different characters. He was just funny. And I felt like we had that kindred spirit thing. I have I think a funny story. When I used to travel from wherever I was at Christmas, I was always getting in late, was always tired, and Amy, Silas's mom, had a rule. Like, Jeb is tired, you guys have to let him sleep. And of course, Wyatt and Silas on Christmas would be up, and any day, they'd just be up super early, and they'd want to come in and jump on me and, get started. And the rule was, you gotta let him sleep until he wakes up. And so Silas would sit in the doorway, and he'd just sit there in the doorway. And then he'd start going, "Jeb. Hey, Jeb. Jeb." And I would lie there and be like, oh, okay, if I just pretend that I'm still sleeping, he's gonna let me sleep a little bit more, and he'd just keep doing it. And then I go, "What?" And he'd go, "Are you awake?" So he had this kind of gentle, it's funny to think about this stuff now and put it all in perspective. Like from then, he had this gentle kind of perseverance, you know, and where it wasn't like a pushy thing, but it was like with kindness or with humor. If he wanted something, if he wanted to connect with somebody, if he wanted to do something, he made it happen. When he was 15 years old, and I was out here, and I'd been doing the comedy festival, he told his mother and me and his parents that he wanted to come out here and be my assistant for the comedy festival. And Amy told me that, and I was like, really? A 15-year-old's going to come out here by himself, and he's going to help me do the festival? Like, okay, sounds kind of crazy, but... And Silas basically made it happen, you know? A teenager, a sophomore in high school, and he figured it out. They worked on how it would work with the travel and the money, and he would stay with us. And I was a little bit worried. I was like, is this going to be an extra responsibility that I'm going to have when I'm busy with all this other stuff? And man, he came out here, and he was indispensable. Like, he was always there. He always was looking for something that he could do to help. And then in the meantime, we had all these, you know, pretty important comedians in the green room every night, and they all got to know him and love him as Silas, Jeb's little nephew, Silas. And it was awesome. And when he left, I thought, man, this is a great thing, you know. This is super helpful. He really did help me out a lot, and it was so fun to have him. And he did that. He missed the next year, but then he did it every single year. And then he decided that he wanted to move out here. So when he's 18 or 19, he made that happen. And he moved out here. And he continued to help me with the comedy festival. And then he told me, I was living in Portland, and he told me that he was now doing comedy. And he started doing comedy. He started putting on open mic nights. It was really remarkable. He did it all on his own, you know? He just started doing it, told me about it. And then the 2020 festival, when the last one we were able to do, pre-pandemic, he said, I want to do a locals festival of comedy. And so I said, great, you know, talk to Ronnie Palomar and let's make it happen as part of the festival somehow. And he put it together. He got a group of comedians. We finished the festival up here, went downstairs, had it all set up, and they put on this show, and it was great. And I'll tell you something, he was so funny. I mean, truly, you know, it was local comedians, and it was like, okay, all right, this is fun, you know. And then Silas got up there, and he was truly funny. He shined. And I was just so proud of the guy. And then that night he said, I really love Telluride. I love comedy. I love skiing. And he said, thank you for helping me get all those things in my life. And that meant a lot to me. I have some other funny stories, but I think I'd like to get things moving along. Maybe I'll slip them in later. The first person who's going to speak is my sister and Silas's mother, and Silas's dad, Amy and Thad Berrier.
Should this come down?
Yeah.
How can there be words? Where do we start to express our searing grief? Can it be possible to heal the hurt of our hearts ripped wide open by our collective loss? Gathering here today to share words of love and recollection will be a start towards a life without Silas, our friend, my son. We are all so much richer by the fact that he was in our lives and will continue to live in our memories. I want to share a few excerpts from an essay that Silas wrote about his experience at Camp Belknap on the shores of New Hampshire's Lake Winnipesaukee. He wrote with joy, humor, and appreciation of his time there over 5 summers. Getting a glimpse into his reflections on this camp and his response to receiving a scholarship to attend there each summer helps make sense of how Silas related to the world and to others. These are his words. Looking back over my childhood from the threshold I now stand on, I recall the countless experiences I have been a part of. Above all else is my time at Camp Belknap and the life-changing impact it had on me. Aside from other campers, there are few people I know who fully understand this as I do. My time spent between the mystical and towering pines of Belknap, growing up beside these boys, changed them from just friends to my brothers. Together we learned that selflessness and the ability to put others before oneself is one of the highest values you can embrace. After my final session at camp, I wanted to give back in any way I could in gratitude for the amazing generosity that Belknap had shown towards me. A large donation was beyond my reach, so I searched for other avenues to channel my goal. Finally, I found it, improving the Huckins Belknap dance. This dance, a highlight of every senior camper's career, was infamous for its chronically overheating speakers, single flicker strobe light, and uninspiring playlists. Having recently started a DJ business, I offered to DJ the dances for free. I have now returned 4 times and have been dubbed the official DJ of Camp Belknap. The campers love it, the leaders are thankful, and I have found a way to give back. It is not the way in which you do something, said my senior cabin leader, but rather its ability to satisfy yourself, others, and the task you seek to complete. This camp and the ethos it instilled in Silas at an early age shaped him. Silas took the camp motto, "Seek the joy of being alive," as his own. This phrase guided his moral compass until his last days. It was the final line written in his journal, found with him the day he died. Silas was a wise soul, filled with lightness and dark, humor and a keen wit, profound generosity and sincere compassion towards those around him. May we all hold the memory of his kind and giving spirit as a candle flickering bravely and lighting our way out of the incredible sadness we all share. He would surely want us all to seek the joy of being alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Go through the back that way. All right. I do want to tell one funny Silas story, if you guys don't mind. So when we moved from Telluride to Portland, Oregon, Silas, once again, like always a guy who wanted to do something and help, he flew out to Telluride to help us pack up, stay with us for a while, and drive all the way from Telluride to Portland. And it was great. I was doing Shakespeare in the Park, and he would come every night. He became an honorary cast member. Every night he would show up to the show, and people would say, Silas! Like he started making friends immediately. Just a beautiful thing for me to get to watch. Anyway, this moving story is that we were driving. It was me, my partner Anne, our son William, who was 3 years old at the time, Anne's mother, who was about 72, Silas, and a cat and a dog. And we were going to drive from Telluride to Portland, and we were going to camp out along the way. So the first night we stopped in Green River, Utah, and we all slept in a tent, all of us. So grandma, mom, dad, kid, cat, dog, Silas. Have you ever gone camping with a cat? I do not recommend that. So we were all pretty tired the next night, so we decided to get a room at the Super 8 Motel. And we got one room, and we all crammed into that thing. And Silas and I slept on the floor. In the middle of the night, Silas was tall, and he was uncomfortable, so he decided to go sleep in the bathroom on the floor. And the next morning, he told me, he's like, "You're not going to believe what happened last night." I said, What happened? He's like, "In the middle of the night, Anne's mother had to use the bathroom. And I was asleep on the floor in there. And I tried to get up, and she said, 'Oh, don't worry about it.'" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he's like, oh yeah, with me there. And I said, he's like, "Oh, like all of it, like everything." He was thinking it was funny, but I think he was also slightly horrified by the whole experience. All right, the next person to speak is another person that made me so happy when I found out that he and Silas were like best buds out here. The guy who I've known since he was born, basically, Keith Hill.
Gosh. The last time I was up here speaking, I was winning an award for a stupid movie that I made. And the next time was probably going to be with Silas, doing the local comedy festival. No, I'm not going to pick up this phone call from Russell, Kentucky. I will keep this short. But this feels like this is the first day of my life. Silas and I dreamed really big together. That's what I want to talk about today. Doing something with our lives. Jesus, I'm sorry. God, dude. You want to just do another yell again? Just, oh! It's the hardest thing I've ever done. The last day Silas came by the roastery. This is funny. I'm going to skip some things. I can't even read them. He came by the roastery to stop by on his way back from Montrose. Tuesday's the biggest day of the week in the roastery. But he stopped by as Joe James stops by and says hi to my dad, and you're like, "What's up, buddy?" You're going to take some time because you don't get to see him that often. And we chatted for, a good 25 minutes before it was like, okay, I got to go back. My dad is always being respectful, but he's like, "Dude, you are working. Like, you're not just here existing." So the first thing Silas does is whip out this bottle of a 3-in-1 tobacco amber scented body wash, shampoo, conditioner. That doesn't make sense. The fun part for him though was that it only cost $7, and there was a lot of it. And he was like, "Look, it only cost $7, so I bought it for you." And I was like, "Nice, thanks, bro." And then he told me about this crazy story where he was really challenging himself. He wanted to do comedy. He was dreaming. He was going through a major change in his life. And he was in Denver. And he went up to this open mic that him and Kate were hanging out at, and he decided to just pretend he was drunk. Like that they had given the wrong person stage time, and that he was just going to walk around talking to people and being slurry and taking forever and just not saying anything. And it was like his face, he was so happy telling me this story. It was stupid. Like Andrew Hershey was working inside and was like, "Good Lord, what was he talking about?" Like he was just beaming, and he was beaming, and that was the last day, and you know, he had so much. He had a lot of. There was a lot of excitement going on. There was a lot of big dreams in his heart, and he called me all the time. He helped. I don't want to just. I want you to know how good of a. Everyone I think knows how good of a friend he was. He really made an effort. And the last 6 years, I feel like I took myself out of society to focus on everything I felt like I needed to do, my dreams, and it's been very painful not sharing that with any of my friends, really, because I felt ashamed about not doing more faster. And it's okay. I'm working on it. It's better. It's all good now. But Silas, you know, you have patience. It's a naive feeling when you're young. But he called me all the time. So it's like I had to share things with him. Of course, I love being honest, and so I would. And he would just, like, he loved it. Like, he understood how much I also wanted the struggle. And he wasn't there to go, do you want to do something different with your life? Do you want to change? I mean, he didn't go to college either. And he knew what it feels like to be looked at as a fucking idiot. Not by everyone, but it's a feeling. You're like, oh, okay, what are you doing? Oh, okay, you know, oh, nothing? Oh, okay. But you have this burning, burning fire inside of you that you know and you believe in yourself. And he was inspired by that in me. And then he developed it in himself. And then he helped me when I needed it again. And the last 6 months have been the hardest, loneliest of my life before I came out here, after I bought my house in North Carolina. It's just lonely and working all the time, and he just called all the time. And we would solve all the world's problems and rant. And we were talking about big ideas and social justice and whatever, you know, and like just doing something with our lives. And the whole time, I didn't know that when he wasn't talking to me, he was just having such a full life with all of you. And I know that talking to him, talking to all of you the last few days. And I will keep talking to all y'all. Because it was a full life. And I know that that's what Amy, his mom, and his parents, dad and his brother are so grateful for. So the more that you can share that and just keep telling stories, because he learned how to cook steaks really well. He learned how to do cocktails great. He would just be like, let's get hammered, I'll make nice cocktails. And then it sucked, but it was great. And he tried to have relationships, you know? It's a courageous thing. And I just need to live my life like that now. And I will, so. We have a good slideshow. It's going to be funny. It's going to be nice. He's a freaking homie. And I'm really, really thankful. Really, really thankful to have had him in my life. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Keith. I just have to say that one of my fondest ski day memories, and I have a lot of them, is one end of Comedy Fest when Keith and Silas and I met up when you guys were like 15 years old and skied on chair 7 on the gondola for 2 or 3 hours. You remember that? It was amazing. We laughed, we skied. Yeah. Yeah. No, not my fondest memory wasn't when you and Silas skied together. I mean, I like the idea of that. I really am picturing it, and it's, wow, okay, that's pretty good. That's a runner-up. But my favorite one is the one where I was there with you and with Silas. And we were shredding the gondola line. All right. Okay. I love that it's okay to laugh today, because that is what the man wanted. Let's bring out another friend, another guy that I knew as a kid, and he grew up and became friends and co-workers and everything with Silas, and it was another thing when I would come to town, and every time I would come to town, there would be people who I knew from some other context and be like, Silas is my bro. Or every age, too, every strata. I would get texts. Rosie Cusack sent me a text from the Brown Dog. She's like, I just met Silas. He's awesome. So that's really what we're celebrating here, is a person who just made those kind of connections. And this is the guy that brought that all up, PJ Kelly. Come on out here, PJ.
Thanks, Jim. So like Jeb said, I worked with Silas, and I've been friends with him for a while, but here's something funny about Silas, that the first time I ever heard about him was right after I moved to Denver, and I called my parents, who they're here tonight, and asked them, like, well, how's Brown Dog doing? What's going on there? I was like, well, they just hired Jeb Berrier's nephew, and he's this goofy, weird, kind of tall kid at the host stand. And he's just kind of awkward and just kind of figuring things out. I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's funny. That's cool, great. And then I moved back to town a couple years later, and then I met him, finally. Like, I've heard about him years before, and then met him. And then we had the same interest in music and the same style of movies, and just we bonded, and just I saw that. And we slowly became friends, and then he became my neighbor. We lived in the same apartment complex. He lived right down below me, so it was like one of those, like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let's hang out. And we started spending so much time together, and then one of the bigger memories of like starting to viewing him as a family member was, there's one year that, once again, I'll bring my parents up again, they went to Florida to see my grandmother, and they left me alone on Thanksgiving. And I didn't know what to do, because I've never cooked a Thanksgiving turkey. And one beautiful thing that Brown Dog does, Dan and Smoke right there, buy us a Thanksgiving turkey every year. And usually my mom made it. And that year, Silas and I were like, well, what do we do? Like, let's do a dueling turkey battle. And we did Thanksgiving dinner, and we made so much food. It was ridiculous. It was absurd. And then the next year, after we bought his house, Amy and Thad were there, and they invited me over. And I got invited in with the family and got to be a part of that, and they cooked the dinner for us. And that was really another moment of me realizing how much of a family member he was to me, and how much of a best friend he was. And then another thing that happened was when COVID hit, we all were just rocked by it, and then everyone told you, you have to be in a pod, like stay with these same 4 people, or stay with these same amount of people. And automatically I knew Silas was the one that I wanted to be with. And then that turned into Silas, and then Hannah Dodson, who's here tonight as well, and Brad Roberts, who flew out here for this, and that turned into all of us. And Silas was the glue that held us all together. And we just had so many fun memories, and he was just always the biggest goofball and the funniest person in the world. And no matter how many times you could roll your eyes at how bad his jokes were, because they were bad. But the way that he projected it and the way that he landed it was in his own Silas way. Like, it could be like the most terrible thing, and I'd hear him talking to tables. I was like, dude, what did you just say? Like, what? Like, are you serious? But then you just see, like, he would just win over every table he had with how much lovability he had and where he was with it. And it's hard for me to be up here and do this right now, but just saying he was one of my best friends, and I love the kid to death, and he will always be my best friend. He's never lost. He's up there cracking jokes right now. He's knowing what's going on. He's going to mess with us for the rest of our fucking lives. Like, we're not getting rid of him anytime soon, even though we might want to. Like, he's going to be here screwing with us forever, and it's just in his own Silas way. And I'll end it at that. I wanted to make this short and sweet and just say I love Silas to death. He was my best friend. He was my brother. And somebody that I will never forget, because I will never lose this friendship, because he'll always be there with me.
Thank you, PJ. I love that sentiment. He is here with us. He will always be here with us. All right, let's keep going. We have the next speakers are, I didn't know that Silas had a girlfriend, and that they were, can I say it? That they were engaged. So please welcome Kate Sulky and Charlotte.
Hi. We all know how funny Silas was, funniest person ever, in his own Silas way, just like PJ said. And I knew that if I didn't write something down, that I would either be up here forever or I would have no words at all. So I wanted to write Silas a letter because that's what I've been doing since he passed. Dear Silas, I've never met anyone who could talk as much as I could. Your wide-eyed view of the world and infinite generosity has filled our days with hope and wonderment. There's nothing more precious to me than the memories we shared. Dancing in the kitchen, getting lost on back roads in Mexico, dislocating a joint in my neck, and talking about the future at midnight, sharing one pillow. We talked about our wedding at Closeburn Castle, the estate of your ancestors in Scotland, with each of us wearing our familiar tartans. We agreed that he could wear the kilt, of course. You were my moon and stars and lit the way for our dreams, and I was so proud of the person that you were becoming, figuring out what you wanted out of life and what would bring you true happiness, which was always giving back to other people. As Mama Coco, our new close relative, would say, following your heart is more important than following the rules. Fill your life with love and those who love you in return. We always noted how similar our lives were and how our paths were the same, leading us to each other, coincidences and life events that connected us long before Telluride. Last Wednesday, in an instant, our roads split, and we were forced to go our separate ways on separate paths. I only wish that we had had more time. I'm good. But now you and Boondog are on a new adventure, and you have each other. I will continue to live our dreams best as we can, seeking the joy of being alive just as you would have. And I take solace in knowing how much love there was between us and how much love this community has for you. I hope to honor every day with acts of love and kindness. You'll always be my fifth element, my big bada boom. Thanks.
Thank you, Kate. And thanks, Charlotte. All right. Another 1, 2, 3. We love you, Silas. You ready? 1, 2, 3. We love you, Silas. Awesome. The next speaker, another great friend of Silas, co-worker and roommate. Come on out here, Chris. Chris Uline.
Hi guys, I'm Chris, and this is Hannah, and these are Silas's sweaters. I had a longer story about our last day together that I don't know that I could tell right now. It was just, we went down and we test drove cars, and Silas was looking to actually buy a car, but they happened to have my dream car down there. We spent maybe 10 minutes in the car he wanted to buy, and then he convinced them to let me drive a $40,000 car on a whim. And we drove that thing for like 45 minutes. But there was more of that story. I just can't get it. So I'll leave with, if you heard me and PJ laughing in the bathroom, something Silas, I just remembered when we were in there, he told me once, no matter how good the soap in the bathroom smells, don't walk out smelling your fingers. I have, Jeb. Thank you, guys.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. All right. We have a couple more people who are going to speak. The next person who wants to talk is another incredibly important person in Silas's Telluride life. This guy hired him as a teenager, gave him a lot of responsibility, and they had a long, great friendship and working relationship together. So, Smoke, come on out. Jeff Smokovich.
All right. Hello, everyone. Like Jeb said, my name is, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Jeff Smokovich, and I'm part owner of Brown Dog. Silas was a great friend of mine and a huge part of our Brown Dog Pizza family. And on behalf of Brown Dog Pizza, I'd like to convey my deepest sympathies to Silas's immediate family and extended family. Amy, Thad, Wyatt, we're all thinking about you all the time. As most of you know, one of Silas's favorite movies was Happy Gilmore. In the movie, the main character, Happy Gilmore, is befriended by an old, washed-up golf pro named Chubbs Peterson. In many ways, I feel that Silas was Happy Gilmore, and I'm Chubbs Peterson. Although I don't really think of myself as a washed-up golfer, the movie themes in particular regarding Happy Gilmore make me think of Silas. One thing, how hardworking he was. Second, he's always willing to learn. And third, how fiercely protective he was of his family and friends. So for hardworking, in the movie Happy Gilmore, Happy's character is seen pretty quickly. Happy needed a job to save his grandmother from getting evicted from her house. So this story reminds me of how I actually met Silas. So about 8 years ago, a good friend of mine gives me a call, Johnny Lombino, and says, hey, Smoke, I got this kid that I rented a room to in my house. He's kind of goofy, but I think he's probably pretty responsible. I'm a little concerned about him paying rent to me, though. So could you give him a job at Brown Dog? Literally the next day, Silas was bussing tables at Brown Dog. His hard work and attitude was evident from the first shift that he had at Brown Dog. This has been the case the entire time that he's been working with us. The second thing I want to touch on was his willing and wanting to learn. Deeper than being hardworking, Happy Gilmore also demonstrates a desire to always learn. Chubbs Peterson became the golf coach for Happy and trained him to imbue accuracy in his powerful golf swing. I sometimes dabble around in golf, but I feel like my golf swing is making pizza. So for years, Silas had been selling pizza at Brown Dog, but he was always interested in how to make it, of course. So a few months ago, I approached him and said, hey, I want to make a Detroit-style pizza how-to video. Can you help me out with it? And immediately, Silas is all in, of course. The first thing he says, though, hey, let's film this video at my house. And I said, hey, wait a minute, you mean my house? So after hours of filming, Silas looks at me and says, hey, Smoke, we've been making this video, this 3 hours. I got to get to my... He was delivering that night. He said, this pizza that we're making, we spent 3 hours on it. It better be damn good. Well, it seems like I was only making pizza that day. I kept looking over at Silas, who was watching everything that I was doing, and I swear he asked me that day 1,000 different questions about how we do our pizza, and that was Silas right there. Again, the interaction just emphasized how much Silas wanted to learn. The last thing I wanted to talk about was how fiercely protective Silas is. And how does that relate to Happy Gilmore? So, everyone knows this scene if you've seen Happy Gilmore. But Happy hits the ball and it goes into the alligator's mouth. He notices that it's the one-eyed alligator that bit off his mentor's hand, Chubb's hand, and he proceeds to beat up the alligator. So Silas, he would always do anything for his friends and family. He would often say to me that I did that just for somebody, just because I'm a nice guy. And that was Silas. He was a nice guy. Being fiercely protective and loyal to people he cared about also reminds me of a story when I was talking to him on the phone last week. We were just shooting the shit, like, most of his friends do with Silas, and time goes by quick, and you're like, holy crap, I'm talking to Silas for an hour now. But for some reason, I'm remodeling a house, and the remodel of my house came up. I said, yeah, hey, Silas, I'm not in town now. I don't know when I'm coming back. The house is a mess. And then we talked about a couple other things and hung up. Well, about 2 hours later, I get a video text from Silas. He had gone over to my house and done some serious video recon. And he took videos of the whole interior of the house. The subcontractor's kind of sitting around, not really working. And he zoomed in on the toilet when he went by the bathroom. The toilet hadn't been flushed for a while. And you can hear him in the video say, dude, flush the toilet, bro. So, I say a lot of these stories jokingly, but in all seriousness, I'll miss the man who could befriend almost anyone. He had an insatiable sense of adventure, was loving, and who deeply valued and honored good friendships. Again, to his family, thank you for sharing Silas with us in Telluride and at Brown Dog. We'll always love him, and he'll always be a member of the Brown Dog team. Thank you.
Thank you, Smoke. And thank you for being such a good friend and mentor and taking care of Silas all those years. All right. We have one more person to speak, and that is Silas's brother. He came in from New Hampshire. So, Wyatt Berrier, come on out.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. A little disclaimer, if it looks like I'm having a hard time breathing up here, it's either because my lungs haven't adjusted to the Telluride air yet, or saying goodbye to my brother is one of the hardest things I'll ever do. Thanks for bearing with me. Dear Silas, you died early on a beautiful Wednesday morning, high up in the Colorado Rockies, with Boone by your side. It was over in the blink of an eye, and for that I'm grateful. Although you told no one, we know exactly where you were going. Mom described that hike to Ice Lake to Dad and me, and showed us a photo of its serene alpine beauty, jagged crimson ridges scraping the sun-drenched sky, while the baby blue water shimmered below. No wonder why you yearned for this landscape at the break of dawn. It would help clear anyone's mind. 7 heart-wrenching days have already come to pass, and I cannot possibly fathom a lifetime without your wise-ass humor and selfless personality. Telluride had the wind knocked out of it since the horrific news swept the valley floor and beyond. You belonged here in this community, truly. I could see each time I came for a visit with people stopping you on the street or river trail to chat whenever we went somewhere. In just 9 short years, you were well on track to achieving the status of a local celebrity, following in Uncle Jeb's footsteps and yet making a name for yourself without any of his help. As your older brother, my heart always was bursting with pride when you showed us how independent you could be around every turn. You were your own advocate out here, far from home. Well, when people asked as the years went on, there came a point where you began to insist that you were from Telluride. I quickly learned to not dispute this. The way I see it, you were a child of Tamworth. We had the rare privilege of growing up in a town like no other, with a legendary community there to nurture us along the way. In that sense, your transition to Telluride was relatively easy due to your inherent familiarity with that small town vibe. Just in case you were wondering, while I've got your attention, I want to tell you a little something about how much of an impact you had on the people of Tamworth during your 18 years, the 18 years we were lucky enough to have you. Ever since the word began to spread like wildfire on Wednesday afternoon, there has been a steady stream of visitors driving in our yard who knew and loved you, wanting to show how much they deeply care. Mom, Dad, and I will not be able to go anywhere in town for a very long time without being stopped on our tracks with hugs and praise from adoring neighbors and friends, fondly remembering you for what you meant to all of us. I wouldn't have it any other way. Never again will I be able to call you up to bust your balls over the phone or count down the days until you visit for Thanksgiving every year. None of us can wrap our minds around that reality just yet, nor will we ever want to. Your flame has been extinguished, but your light will never go dark. Stories of the life you lived with fervor and grace are destined to be passed down through the generations of our family. You will always be a part of me and of everyone who knew you. I hope to have children someday, and will make darn sure that they know what a cool guy their Uncle Silas was. I'll tell them all about the memories we shared growing up together on the banks of the Berrier River. Mom's scavenger hunt birthday parties, complemented by Dad's creative pirate and Pikachu-shaped cakes. Christmases with cousins, tubing down our sledding hill with facefuls of fresh powder, riding our bikes in the 4th of July parade with streamers weaved through the spokes, racing home from middle school before Mom and Dad got back from work so we could fast forward through R-rated movies on our portable DVD player to find racy scenes. Haven't told them that one yet. Annual February vacation road trips to visit Dad's family in North Carolina. As soon as we arrived, Grandmom would always pretend to nibble the honey off the back of your neck, 'cause you were so sweet. Maybe it was from that super-sized Sprite you got at Wendy's on the way down. These memories barely scratch the surface of the vast collection that I hold so near and dear to my heart. Each story I see, each photo I see, and every story I tell will help fortify my eternal appreciation for having you as a brother. Life growing up in Tamworth wouldn't have been nearly the same without you, and there will forever be a void in both of our beloved towns that can never be filled. You taught me so much during our short time together on this earth. Your ashes will take a place of honor in our family plot as we break ground there for the first time. I can't see. Nestled in amongst the trees on Rocktoss Farm, next to a stone wall built by our ancestors centuries ago. We were always so proud of being the 11th generation of Bryants to live on our road after the king granted land to our family in the original town charter from 1766. You will have returned to your roots far before the time was right. As wooden roots slowly begin to embrace your urn, we will all come to visit you as often as we can. Echoes of us exploring in these woods together, building rock towers in the river, and tobogganing in the sand pit just a stone's throw away will reverberate through time. Someday, we will all take our rightful places beside you on this riverbank. Together again, watching the world go by forevermore. I love you more than you ever knew, Silas. Rest easy, my friend, my brother, my lifelong companion. With my whole heart, Wyatt. Thank you.
Thank you, Wyatt. That was beautiful. All right. Okay. So the plan is now that we're going to have a slideshow that Keith Hill has put together. We're going to get rid of this podium. And after the slideshow, we're all going to head downstairs. But the thing that I will ask prior to the slideshow even starting is that we let the family, when it's over, we let the family leave first. Because we're all going to be downstairs. There's some food. There's a bar. And then the family will be down there. And people can make their way down after they have been able to get out. Okay. I want to read one short poem. And it's, I just looked at it the other day, and the thing that I was, the thing that became apparent. Sorry, I'm doing it. The thing that became so apparent is how loved this guy was. Okay, give me a second. Whether it was Tamworth, whether it was Telluride, I mean, just, it was amazing. And it was a short life. Just put it bluntly. But it was a goddamn full life. And I read this poem by Raymond Carver. It's the last poem that he wrote or was published. And he knew that he was dying of lung cancer. But it just says, late fragment. And did you get what you wanted from this life? Even so, I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved. To feel myself beloved on the earth. And Silas did that. All right, let's move this thing out of the way.
many times before. I've always said someday I'll leave you and never come back no more. Maybe one day I'll have the strength to leave. I know you've told all your friends your fools I'll always be. But as soon as I try, something takes over me inside. Yes, it does, oh baby. I'm not trying to threaten you, baby. That's something I wouldn't do. Maybe the thought of losing me will show you I'm no fool. Maybe one day I'll have the strength to leave. I know you told all your friends your fools I'll always be. But as soon as I try, something takes over me inside. Yes, it does, oh baby. Time very late, it is your currency. Oh, you can spend it how you like. Two empty souls won't fill the vacancy. I know it's heavy on your mind. Cigarette smoke won't make you feel at home. Yesterdays are made for letting go. Silver will never feel like gold. Chasing shadows will leave you in the cold. Oh, you should dance some more. Don't need nobody to take you home. Grab a drink or four. Don't need nobody to take you home. Oh, there's a world outside for you to see. It's all beyond the borderline. Two empty souls won't fill the vacancy. You'll never know until you try. Shooting stars were made for you to see. Even clouds could use some company. Swimming in your sky or make believe. It's okay if you're lonely. Said I get lonely too. Oh, you should dance up more. Don't need nobody to take you home. Grab a drink or four. Don't need nobody to take you home. Now the floor is yours. Don't need nobody to call your phone.
Boone? Boone, you can't fit up there, friend. Hey, buddy, hey. I hope he doesn't have to like shit. Oh, okay.
I went out in the rain, suddenly everything changed. They're spreading blankets on the beach.
Hey, how's it going?
Yours is the first face that I saw. I think I was blind before I met you. And I don't know where I am, I don't know where I've been, but I know where I want to go. And so I thought I'd let you know. Yeah, these things take forever, I especially am slow. But I realized that I need you, and I wondered if I could come home. Remember the time you drove all night just to meet me in the morning? And I thought it was strange, you said everything changed. You felt as if you just woke up. And you said, this is the first day of my life. I'm glad I didn't die before I met you. But now I don't care, I could go anywhere with you, and I'd probably be happy. So if you wanna be with me, if these things there's no telling, we just have to wait and see. But I'd rather be working for a paycheck than waiting to win the lottery. Besides, maybe this time it's different.
Let's see some dance moves, William. Hey, William. Hey, William. William. Is it fun having Silas here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Oh, careful. Silas making his first latte. Okay, let's see. Look at that. That is beautiful. Look at that latte art.
I'm going for the murky water.
You do a tree? Or fern?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of shake it like... That is...
Wait.
No, it has nothing to do with you. You put that back there. I'm just saying in the old days, like, look, there's a difference between a piece and a sliver.
And do a little elbow.
That's a pretty full latte there. That's a large.
That is medium.
Is that a medium?
That is medium.
Well done.
I'm gonna put some grass.
How did he do? How did he...
Very
Wait, I'm
well.
not done, Joe.
He's adding grass.
Is it a tree and grass?
Grass in Colorado means a completely different thing.
Okay, this is actually a marijuana leaf.
Yeah, I'm sending this to your mother.
I know. And then I'll do a little bird. Bird up here. See the bird?
Yeah. So you know that this is the kind of skill that you can take any place in America.
Yeah, I mean, this will get you a job anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
You can work at like...
You can be a barista anywhere.
No, you can be like a stockbroker.
You're probably better off being a barista.
Probably.
Better for the world than being a stockbroker.
Okay, you're still pouring? I want my bar back.
Look at that. Look, now he's really...
Those clouds?
No, this is like leaves. Doing a little bit of...
Now, should it take like 10 minutes to
I'm
make
letting
one?
it actually. I'm letting it cool down.
It's a good thing there's not a line. So if this was Bluegrass Festival,
Not even bluegrass. Bluegrass isn't that bad because all bluegrass is like Wookiees that went to shower in our bathroom.
right?
But if this was like Film Fest, oh my god.
It's brimming.
But
you
it's
would
a
have someone from LA literally having a conniption on the floor.
but it is a beautiful drink.
It is a beautiful, look at that foam.
Oh, look at that foam.
Look at that.
That's like That's like toothpaste.
I don't think that.
I know I've said it many times before. I've always said someday I'll leave you and never